Look, have you ever noticed that some of the most powerful people in the room are the ones no one notices at first? They're not the loudest, they're not trying to impress anyone, and somehow people still listen when they speak. Now, here's the strange part. Being underestimated, that feeling of being overlooked, ignored, or quietly dismissed, might actually be one of the biggest psychological advantages you can have. Yeah, I know that sounds backwards, but stay with me because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why being underestimated lowers resistance, shifts power dynamics, and gives you leverage most people never even realize they have. And once you see it, you'll stop trying to prove yourself altogether.
Let's be honest for a moment. Being underestimated doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels like you're invisible, your intelligence is ignored, your presence isn't taken seriously. People talk over you, or worse, they assume you're harmless. And if you're someone who's naturally thoughtful, calm, or introverted, this happens a lot. You walk into a room and nobody expects much from you. And yeah, that can hurt. Because somewhere in your mind, there's this voice saying, if only they knew what I was capable of. So what do most people do? They compensate. They over-explain. They speak louder. They rush to prove themselves. They give away information too quickly. And without realizing it, they do the one thing that actually destroys their leverage. They remove the mystery. But here's the psychological truth most people never learn. Power doesn't come from being seen immediately. Power comes from being underestimated and staying composed. And in a second, I'll explain why. But first, you need to understand how the human brain assigns power in social situations.
Because once you see how expectations shape perception, you'll realize why some of the calmest, quietest women end up controlling the room without ever trying. And there's one mistake almost everyone makes when they're underestimated. We'll get to that later. That completely ruins this advantage. This is one of the most important ideas in psychology, and it's rarely talked about. People resist what they perceive as a threat. They relax around what they perceive as harmless. When you're underestimated, people don't feel the need to defend themselves around you. They don't compete with you. They don't monitor their behavior. They don't filter what they say as much. They assume, she's not a factor. She's not playing the game. She's not dangerous. And that assumption is exactly what gives you power. Because influence doesn't require dominance, it requires access. And being underestimated gives you access. Access to real information, authentic behavior, unguarded reactions. Meanwhile, the people who desperately try to be seen as powerful trigger resistance everywhere they go. They create tension, they invite comparison, they provoke ego battles. But the underestimated person? They move under the radar. And that's not weakness, that's strategic invisibility. Now, this doesn't mean you stay small. It means you wait. Because timing matters more than volume. Let's talk about projection for a second. When people don't have enough information about you, they project their own assumptions onto you. If you're calm, composed, and emotionally contained, those projections tend to be positive. People assume, she's confident, she doesn't need approval, she's self-assured, even if you haven't said much at all. But when you rush to explain yourself, you remove the projection. You flatten yourself into something predictable, and predictability kills intrigue. That's why the most memorable people are often the ones who speak last, not because they're shy, but because they understand that restraint creates gravity. And in a moment, I'll show you why trying to correct people's underestimation actually backfires psychologically. But first, let's talk about the biggest mistake people make when they feel overlooked.
Here's what usually happens. Someone feels underestimated, so they start proving. They list achievements, they explain intentions, they talk faster, they give more than necessary. And the brain on the other side goes, "Oh, you need to be seen." And needing to be seen signals insecurity, even if you're incredibly capable. Psychologically, authority is assumed, not negotiated. The moment you argue for your value, you lower it. That doesn't mean you stay silent forever. It means you let results speak. You let consistency speak. You let selective presence speak. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. People don't respect explanations. They respect alignment between behavior and outcome. And underestimated people have the luxury of surprising others. Surprise is one of the strongest emotional responses the brain has. When someone expects little from you, and you deliver more than expected, their entire perception shifts. And perception shifts faster than reputation ever could. This is why quiet competence is so powerful. You don't announce it, you reveal it once. And after that, you don't need to do much else, because the brain remembers contrast. And here's where it gets interesting. Once you understand this, you stop trying to control how people see you. You start controlling when they see you. Now, I want to be clear about something. Being underestimated is not the same as being invisible. Invisibility is passive. Underestimation is perceptual. The difference? Presence. You don't disappear. You remain composed. You stay observant. You engage selectively. You speak when it matters, not constantly. And when you do speak, it lands, because people are already listening. Calm is one of the most misinterpreted traits in social psychology. Calm doesn't mean passive, it means regulated. A calm person signals emotional control, self-trust, internal stability, and the brain associates those traits with leadership and authority, especially in women, because calm in a woman is rare, and rarity increases value. And in the final part of this video, I'll explain how to use underestimation without becoming bitter, closed off, or resentful, because that part matters more than you think. Something interesting happens when you stop trying to be seen. Your confidence stops being reactive. You're no longer dependent on approval. And paradoxically, that makes people lean in. Because the strongest signal of confidence is not asserting, it's not needing to. So if you've ever felt underestimated, I want you to understand something. It's not a flaw, it's not a failure, and it's not a sign you need to become louder. It's an opportunity. An opportunity to observe, to refine, to move with intention. Because the people who underestimate you today are the same people who will be most affected when they finally see you clearly. And by then, you won't need their validation anymore. If this perspective resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe. This channel is about understanding power without noise, presence without performance, and confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. And I'll see you in the next video.